Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Experience Kills. I am your host, Ben, and joined with me today we have Richard
Hello.
and Rob.
Hello, everyone.
This is the 8th episode of the Experience Kills podcast, and today we're here predominantly to talk about Series X and watch as my two co-hosts crack completely. In the pre-show, which you'll be sad to hear we did not record, I think we're dealing with some kind of like video game. I don't know. Like, people are losing their minds today. I don't know. People have not been eating. They've not been sleeping. Are you guys okay? Do you need help?
I don't feel like I'm enjoying myself at the minute, but it feels like the prelude to something horrific. So anything could happen in the next 2 hours.
Rob,
Well,
how you doing, Rob?
I'm doing pretty alright. I had a massive takeaway last night, so yeah, it's good. I'm eager to talk about the Series X and then get back playing the damn thing.
So yeah, Rob's annoyed that I pulled him away from Destiny to do a podcast more than
Needed
anything.
my fix.
He's a dirty addict.
Yeah.
Well, with that in
I haven't
mind,
slept and I feel weird.
with that in mind, and how we are very keen to get into the Xbox discussion, which is going to be coming shortly. Let's dive straight into the news, which we'll go through at some pace, I suspect. So let's just immediately mention this little cool thing, right? If you're a Game Pass subscriber, Ultimate Game Pass subscriber, you've now got EA in there, EA Play, and that includes, as of this week, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which me and Richard played to death when it came out. About a year ago now, Rich? Something like that,
Yeah.
maybe a bit less. And it's a really, really good Star Wars game. I mean, to be honest, right now, EA on a bit of a roll. Fallen Order and then Squadrons, they're doing real good work with Star Wars. So let's see what comes next. Yeah, it took a while.
About time.
But saying that, Battlefront 2 now is bloody incredible. Like, if you actually go back to it now, it's got everything you'd ever want in a Battlefront game in there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
it took
suppose I'm
a while.
just sore from the days of them cancelling like single player Star Wars projects. You know?
Kathleen Kennedy's no, not Kathleen Kennedy, was it? Jade Raymond's one. And then someone else as well, I believe they had involved, and yeah, they cancelled a bunch, didn't they? But look, it's a scale-bound problem, right? So if you play a game prior to release and it's shit, you need to cancel it, just like they did with Scalebound, Rob. So you know,
Scale bound into it. That would have been awesome.
It really would. I would have bought that game and played the living crap out of that game.
the problem is people were playing the living crap out of it, Rob, and it was shit, so they cancelled it. So what can you do? Let's
Don't bring your personal beefs into this. This is for our viewers and listeners.
Exactly.
Let's entertain. Come
Your
on.
personal prejudices against Scalebound are not welcome here.
Right, let's move on to the next news story. Control, our favourite, well, let's put it this way, our most hated favourite game ever here at Experience Kills has been delayed. Its sort of expanded Series X, Series S version has been delayed into 2021. Are we sad about this? No. Not really.
I am a little, because the sooner it comes out, the sooner I can pick it up pre-owned, and the sooner I can play it.
I do love that strategy. I think that's awesome. I'm glad you're screwing them as hard as you can.
I desperately want to play this game because it looks phenomenal, but I just don't want to give the developers as any money. So yeah,
Yes.
I will wait. I will bide my time.
So basically, yeah, we never miss an opportunity on Experience Kills to dunk on 505 and the way they have handled this game. Basically, after its initial release, after it was lauded by critics and fans alike, including us here, Game of the Year for last year and all of that. We mention that whenever possible. And now basically the way they're handling the update version on the new consoles is beyond shit. So I'm hoping, giving them a bit more time, maybe there's still hope that they can change their minds on how they're handling this. But I don't have a lot of hope for that, really, but you never know. So, fingers
It's
crossed.
possible, but I think that might be 6 months away. I think they'll get through the release of their next gen version and then change their minds after the fact, after people have already given them money to try and save face and look good.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the next little news story.
Oh, I missed that story. Oh,
Not the
I
littlest.
missed the story.
You missed the story. What story, Richard? You were dealing with a dog.
Yeah. Do you want to know what happens behind the curtain? I just went to save my dog. Did you hear him barking?
I did.
So it turns out that he'd trapped his nails in a tennis ball.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
really
weird,
quite
isn't
cute.
it? So I didn't expect to see that, but he's got his claw like trapped right inside a tennis ball, and he was barking at it because he couldn't get it off. So
This is like,
that's a new experience I just
no
thought
one.
I'd share. So I've missed the control chat.
Well,
So
the control chat was
We dunked
basically
on them.
fuck 505 forever.
Yeah.
So feel free to add that if you want.
yeah, well, same again. Let's dunk on 505. I will not be buying that upgraded game. I will see it crash and burn when it comes out. Ha ha ha. Yeah, move on.
So the next story, which is a final confirmation of the worst kept secret in video games, that EA early next year will be releasing the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which will include all the DLC and every one of those sometimes really hard to get hold of little, gun extras and add-ons and stuff that they released in like bags of crisps and on sides of Coke cans and what other weird promotions they had. And I remember at the time around Mass Effect 2, I remember buying these on eBay so I could have everything and actually like giving people money for their things that they got off of crisp packets and stuff, which you can get in the UK. So I'm really glad that this edition is going to include absolutely everything except the multiplayer, which is like whatever. But yeah, that's exciting news, guys. I can't wait to go through this all again.
I might actually book a couple of days off work for that.
Might need more than a couple for all three.
Yeah, for all three.
I'll book probably like a Thursday and Friday off, so then I've got into the weekend.
It's nice
to just push through as much as I can.
And in kind of connected news, this all happened at N7 Day, by the way. And in connected news, they confirmed that a veteran team are working on the next Mass Effect experience.
Now, is that going to be Andromeda 2? Or is that going to be something completely
it will not
different?
be Andromeda 2. I will tell you that now. It will not be Andromeda 2. There is no way in a million hells that will ever be Andromeda 2. And I think it's interesting they said a veteran team. It's like, well, what is that? And like, they were
Probably
the same people that were working on Andromeda. But like...
I reckon it's people working who were working on 2 and 3.
Well, but what do you think they were doing after 2 and 3, Rob? They worked on Andromeda.
It wasn't a new team on Andromeda. It's the same people.
They might have replaced people. They might have brought people back in. Yeah, we don't know staffing changes.
It's the veteran team that made Anthem. They're going to be making the new Mass Effect, just so you know. Be excited about that.
Hey, that means we get to fly around and live the Iron Man fantasy in space, so I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think it has been more likely going to be some kind of direct sequel to the Shepard trilogy. Not a whole nother galaxy and stuff, whether or not they sort of give in to the fan demands and bring back Shepard and bring back Liara
I don't
and bring
reckon.
back Tali and like stuff like that, I don't know, but I
Total
think
reboot. Total reboot, I'm sure.
Yeah, like back to the same sort of thing, as if it never happened. I don't think they can reboot it. I don't think they could do the same stuff again, no, with Reapers and stuff. No, I don't think they can get away with that.
I don't mean the same stuff again, but I don't think it will need to have any continuity at all. There's a broad enough universe. They could just start fresh.
I know what you're saying, Rich, but that's what they tried with Andromeda, and it landed like a pile of shit. Yeah, there were technical issues as well, but beyond that, what people didn't like was its separation from that original trilogy. That you didn't have any connective tissue other than the tech. No characters, basically. That's what people really railed against. So it's actually had a resurgence in recent years. A lot of people have gone back and played Andromeda again and actually can now enjoy it with it, the further separation from the trilogy. They don't feel like they require that much connection now. And it's actually, I think it's a decent game. I actually quite enjoy it. What makes it difficult to love is the knowing what was cut from that game. The ambition of that game pre-release and what actually got shipped is so different that it's quite heartbreaking to experience in that regard. But it's actually not bad. I mean, there's some good characters in there. There's some good worlds. There's great combat mechanics. Some decent enough enemy. It just didn't. The other problem is, I think, that when you play this trilogy of Mass Effect and you've got this huge threat that all culminates and it all comes together in such a massive way. When you go and play Andromeda, it all feels very parochial. It feels very small scale and kind of unimportant.
Kind of the Thanos problem. Once you've dealt with Thanos, where do you go?
Kang.
Yeah, you've dealt. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
You know what?
Maybe it's worth trying again. I wonder what it looks like on Series X. I was tempted to go back to Andromeda because I barely played it and I loved the original trilogy. But
It got a
for
nice
this new one,
It got a good One X update, 4K update. So it looked decent on the One X when they did that as well. I imagine it would run. It ran well on One X. I don't think it's gonna be a big jump on Series X personally, but
I don't think I'll
it's
try
alright.
that on Series X. Maybe I'll have a look at that on One X. I mean, yeah, but it's good that it exists, all right. This new one because we thought Mass Effect was dead, like proper dead.
Clearly, they've just been biding their time and trying to do it right.
It's going to be a while off, though, isn't it? Let's be realistic. We're going to get the next Dragon Age before we get this. And that's still early. So, from what I can tell. So, I think you're looking at least middle generation. Well, I don't mind 3 or 4, I would say. But it's going to be a while. But, you know, I'm still looking forward to this next Dragon Age that they're developing as well. I really like that franchise too. I really liked Inquisition, actually. But, yeah, good news. Finally, the West Kept Secret in video games confirmed. Spring of next year for the Legendary Edition. That's the big bit. That's the bit I'm really excited about. I can't wait to go. I can't wait to see.
Begin now.
I can't wait to see what they do with Mass Effect 1 to make it a bit more palatable to modern gamers. Like, are they going to do stuff with the inventory management? Are they going to do stuff with how that game controls? Because there's some really sort of like they when they made that game, BioWare, they were experimenting with a lot of stuff. Like, they were coming out of KOTOR, they were coming out of very turn-based games and moving into this full control stuff, which was a real change for them. So because of that, it's this weird half step between the games we have now and the games that they had before. So I wonder if they're going to do some work on that.
2 and 3, didn't it? So you'd hope they retroactively slot that combat stuff into 1.
It's a lot of work.
It makes me wish they were kind of doing them separately, you know. I'd rather see them redo them properly than just release the whole trilogy in one go.
I never actually played Mass Effect 1.
What?
I spent about an hour in it.
Wow.
And then I just didn't enjoy it. I then went on to Halo 3. But Mass Effect 2 won me forever.
Yeah. That was
I
the
went
best
back to that
game on the 360, I reckon.
Yeah.
Very, very good game. Very, very good.
If they just slot 2 and 3's combat into 1 and just change the settings and make everything that happens in Mass Effect 1 happen with that sort of combat system and that inventory management system, it'll be fine.
I love the way you guys keep saying just slot it in. Just there's a button in it. It's like when you need to put multiplayer in a game, you just turn it on. It's easy. Just slot it in. There you go. It's a shame in a way because Mass Effect 1 to me has the strongest story, the best character stuff. The first one, and then 2 is really good as well. But number 1 was so awesome for that. But yeah, the actual gameplay, the way that game feels, the inventory is just so clunky and awful. And you've got the Mako, and that feels bad as well. And it's like, there's some real sort of dated shit in there. But that sounds like a lot of work. What you guys are saying, like
without a doubt.
I don't think that's the kind of work some small port team that's working at EA is going to put into that.
But we don't know the size of the port team that's been doing this.
Oh, it's tiny. You know it's going to be tiny. They're not going to put a lot of resources into this. It's 20
Considering
people.
how much this has been talked about.
Some port teams are a big deal. Like look at the stuff Bluepoint does all the time. The new Demon Souls looks phenomenal.
Yeah, but that's not a port, man. That's a full remake. So it's like there is a difference.
Nah. That's what Bluepoint do. They just make old games way better.
Are those guys that did Shadow of the Colossus?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a bit of a different proposition. Like you're not talking about a port. A port is just shifting from one console generation or one hardware to another.
Yeah.
It's what you're talking about is remaking from the ground up. They're not saying that. They're not saying that's what they've done with the Legendary Edition. They've said like, we've enhanced the graphics and the resolution and the frame rate. That's the kind of bullet points that came out of this announcement. They aren't talking about remaking anything.
I hope that's not all they've done. They need to do a bit more.
But I mean, that is still a big deal, right? Putting all those games together into one package with all the DLC, with everything there accessible and it works. Because I've had problems with playing them back compat on for the 360 versions of Xbox One, where it doesn't always recognize all the DLC and stuff like that. It can be a real pain in the ass to make it work. So just making that work is going to make a lot of people happy, right? I don't think they're going to have made that much in the way of changes to the first game. I really don't. It'd be lovely if they have done stuff, but you're talking about some fundamental shifting in the way that game works. Yeah. I can't see it, personally.
As long as I can have Legion on my squad, that's fine.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Right, let's move on to the next one. A bit of a worrying one. Richard, do you want to tell us about Sega?
Sega, they make video games. They first came to market with the Master System. Is this the sort of information you're looking for?
Yeah, do continue. We got a few hours. Just give us a potted history of Sega. Yeah, every major release, console, do it. It'd be good. Bring us right up to date.
There's a sad story. They are shedding staff at a rate of knots at the moment because of the COVID downturn. And it's hit Sega pretty hard. So it sounds as if their video game business is still doing okay. People are staying at home. They're buying lots of video games. That's great. But that's not all Sega do. They've got quite a wide portfolio of business interests now. So they've got resorts. They've got their arcades, toys, films, the Sonic movie and all that stuff. They're not doing so great outside of video games. So they've had to ask 650 staff to take voluntary redundancy, and executives have taken a pay cut too. So sad news to see Sega in the doldrums. You often want to see them have a resurgence of anything, back to the glory days of Sega versus Nintendo. How we miss those days, don't we, guys? But not today. Sega are in trouble, it looks like. Very sad.
Yeah, it's always upsetting to hear about people losing jobs. That's what it comes down to. And to be honest, right now,
650 staff.
Yeah, but they have a lot of staff. They have a lot of staff. But even then, that is a lot of people. And in a way, the video game industry's done pretty well out of COVID, like you said, because a lot of people playing games, a lot of people are, finding ways of spending more time on games, because of lockdowns and things like that. So there's actually, you're not hearing about a lot of studio closures right now. You're not hearing about a lot of that, which is something we actually had. If you remember, Richard, last year, had a story like that to cover every time we sat down together, basically. There was another studio closed, another studio making redundancies. It was constant, wasn't it?
That's not to say they're unaffected. I mean, they're obviously hit hard by development complications.
Yes, absolutely. But if anything, the studios need more people because of that. Like, they're struggling to hit release dates. We're seeing the delays constantly off the back of COVID, right? To Sega, because of their diverse portfolio, are struggling in other areas. It's a shame, and hopefully they can. They're being given these voluntary redundancies include, I think, a decent payout and a good package. And it's the experience kills dog. Say hi, Frank.
Hi, Frank.
We don't have the cat. If we can get the cat on the screen at the same time, Rob, any chance? Is he about anywhere?
No, the cat is having a nap out of shot at the moment.
Oh, damn the cat.
Literally up there.
On the bookcase.
On top of the Billy bookcase, yes.
Okay. Let's move on.
That paw? That's where the tennis ball was.
That's what.
Look on that paw.
What a stupid animal. Should we talk about Xbox news? Let's touch on some Xbox news here. Amazon. Didn't affect us though, did it? Didn't affect you, Rob, because you were the only person to get a Series X from Amazon. But the emails went out. A lot of people
sounded a bit snide, mate. We were all right, but you got fucked over, Rob.
Well, I haven't even said what it was yet. But basically, Amazon fucked up their pre-orders for the Series X. They sound like they overpromised and were not able. I think this might have affected a lot of people in the US. Not able to get Series X out to people on launch day. So there was some delays. I know there are some people in the UK as well. It was a day or two later, but some as much as like a month in some places. They've been told it could be that they don't see the hardware for absolutely ages, and that's a bummer, isn't it? You put that money down on September the 22nd when the pre-orders went up. You think, all right, I'm safe, I'm guaranteed, I'm good. And then you come into like the day before or the day of the release, and you get this email saying, "Oh, actually, it's going to be a month. Sorry, soz." And it's
even worse if you've booked time off work for that. You may have lost a day's pay. Not everyone has paid annual leave. I'm fortunate enough to have paid annual leave as part of my job. So it wouldn't have been a day lost if I had been delayed. But for some people, that could have been a day's income that they would have then lost, and it's gutting.
Yeah, because you're hyped for it. Like you said, there's that cost aspect as well. You've juggled things around to make it, be there for this important delivery or whatever, and then for them to just turn around and go, no. And basically, Amazon, whenever I've spoken to customer service regarding anything to do with issues or pricing, the best they can ever give you is like £10 credit. It's like they are weak when it comes to their actual kind of support of,
3 months of
their
Prime.
F ups. Yeah, exactly. Here's a free month of the thing you already pay. You know, who gives a shit? And it's it's never great in the terms of compensation what they can actually offer to a customer. So I just think it's unfortunate that they overpromise and stuff. And we'll talk about our experiences with our Xboxes later on. But yeah, that's a bummer for everybody out there, and I feel for those people. And you know, especially during lockdown and stuff, a lot of people might be really pinning them stuff on this to get them through the week or the month and stuff. And yeah, it's not great timing for that kind of an F up. Unfortunate. Rob, do you want to hit the next news story as you're the one that put it in the list?
Indeed. So Sony have shed a little bit more light on the price hike for their generation of games. So obviously, I'm not sure if it's the same actually with the Series X.
It isn't.
The next generation games for PlayStation 5 are much more expensive. Close to £70, $70, depending on your locality in the world. PlayStation are basically putting it onto a reason of it's being reflective of the growing development resources needed for these ambitious games. That is a direct quote from a Sony spokesperson that they gave in an interview. I struggle to see it, considering we have similar games coming out on a comparable console for not that price.
Rob, we don't have similar games. We have the same games. Like,
I'm meaning similar franchises.
So what,
we don't
what
have
I mean is
Demon's Souls.
No. What I mean is Assassin's Creed Valhalla is more expensive on PS5 than it is on Series X. It's the same game.
Is bullshit.
Like your excuse of development costs don't really fly in that situation, does it?
I completely disagree with this. It's utter crap.
It's bullshit. Yeah. I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. I mean, but I do. I mean, I've often defended the use of microtransactions and season passes as a way of, you know, assisting revenue streams for developers that, you know, games are costing more and more to make, requiring bigger and bigger amounts of staff, bigger and bigger amounts of investment, longer amounts of time, you know, therefore everything costs more to make them. I understand that they need to find this money from somewhere, hence DLC, game part, you know, all of that stuff, season passes. I get that, and I've defended that. But then the price hike thing, no, I can't defend that if you're not seeing it across the two consoles.
Do you know the worst thing, Ben? The worst thing? This is their deciding to scale back option. It would have been more. Like, they said they settled on this one, just because, you know, they couldn't charge more. They wanted to, but decided against it. So we could have been looking at £100 for one game.
I'm the kind of person that will spend £100 on a game, right? I'm the person that bought both Watchdogs Legions and Assassin's Creed Valhalla at the Ultimate Edition, which was £94 or something, really, or something like that, £94, £95.
100%, yes, but how much extra stuff did you get for that?
So that includes the season pass, that includes exclusive DLC and all this stuff, right? So I'm sort of forward supporting that developer from the offset, knowing I'm going to get my money's worth out of those games, right? So I don't do that for every game, but it's a case of when it's a game I know I'm going to sink hundreds of hours into and get my value for it, I don't mind spending more money on it, right? But that's a choice. There's because those SKUs are available. The fact that on PlayStation you've got this base increase at that base, you know, SKU for the game at the basic level of about 10 or 20 quid more on PlayStation than it is on the Xbox, and that doesn't make sense. Like, what's the deal there? Why is it a case Xbox is getting preferential treatment, or is it a case that PlayStation are just gouging? So it's got to be one or the other, surely.
I think it's both. I'm wondering whether the PlayStation 5 code is awkward to test with. Maybe there are problems with dev kits. We don't know. And I think they're trying to gouge a bit. Like, if I'm paying 70, 80, 90, 100 quid for a game, I want extra stuff. I want season passes. I want skins. I want extra weapon kits, depending on games and that sort of thing. I don't want just the base box experience, because that's just barreling towards 3 figures for games. And that's just not on. Not as the base entry point.
People forget, this isn't the first time we've been there. There were games on SNES at £80. There were games, you know, back in the era of cartridges, especially. You saw some very high priced games for a while there. However, there was you didn't see parity in the same way because you didn't have that situation where a lot of games came out at the same time on all the same on the different hardwares. So you didn't have that direct comparison. Whereas here we do, and I'm Richard. I'm curious. You haven't said much here, mate. What are your thoughts on this? What do you think the logic is here? The reasoning? Because I can't work it out.
I think there's a few more reasons that they haven't mentioned that might be more likely. So going back to the cartridge example, games did used to be way more expensive on cartridge, but that was for a couple of reasons. One, they had to be manufactured on actual hardware.
Yeah,
a disc is far different to a cartridge, which would cost $15 or something to make. Not just the method of publishing those games, it's who's publishing them. So you had to get an exclusive license from Nintendo to make a Nintendo cartridge. No one else would make them. So it's kind of a captive market there. You had to pay Nintendo what Nintendo are asking for. Whether that's got equivalents now, I think there are still licensing deals, aren't there, where if you publish a game on Xbox take a cut of it, and the same for PlayStation. I'm wondering whether there's a big difference between the two platforms now, and we might be being unfair to Sony and them saying, look, this is how much it's costing us to make a game. Maybe that's true, but I suspect that there's a subsidy coming from Xbox to lessen the impact of that, to make their platform more attractive. What bears that out for me is the trouble they've had around smart delivery. Not everyone is taking that on, and obviously that has an effect on the perceived value of games. If you've got a game that you buy on one platform and it automatically upgrades to your new console when you get a Series X or a Series S, then you're not expecting to be paying a premium for that, are you? It's the game that you already own. So it limits their options and increasing prices on Xbox through that. That being the case, I think, and this is just conjecture, but I suspect Xbox have had to make some kind offers to publishers that want to take it to make that happen. So Ubisoft probably have some deal in the background.
This is what it's what I alluded to. Yeah, I do think, for example, this time around, Ubisoft are quite deeply embedded with Xbox. There's been a lot of marketing around their releases that has been specifically Xbox related, but that doesn't explain first party pricing. So we're seeing this with the first party games as well, which have got this increase in hike. Now, if this is a release from internal, they don't have any deals to make there, do they? So the fact that we're seeing the Demon Souls game, coming out at this higher price point as well, means something else is going on here. It can't just be to do with third party deals.
Exactly.
So there is something else. The other thing is that these are new consoles with very small installed user bases. So games have to be more expensive to recoup a reasonable
I think I'm probably going to disagree with you on the small user base concept there.
Why?
Because I reckon, the amount of stocking problems PlayStation 5
they've sold a shit ton of this hardware.
They've sold shit tons of hardware. They are not struggling.
I think they have, but it will take them 4 years.
It's smaller
to get anywhere near PS4 install base. So the number of games that you can conceivably sell is far smaller than if you just released it on PS4.
I think, Richard, you're probably correct, and that makes total logical sense. I think the problem here is that these consoles aren't being released in isolation; they're being released next to each other. So when you have your competitor doing one thing compared to you, it just makes your offering, in Sony's case, look poor. Look like what they're doing is predatory and unfair, anti-consumer, lots of terminology you can use on that, because you've got smart delivery and what's being offered at price points on the Xbox, and therefore it's very canny what Xbox is doing and unfortunate what PlayStation is doing. And I don't necessarily think what they're doing is wrong, but it is what it is, and it doesn't look great for them, does it? But I don't think it's going to hurt their sales. So
no, it won't. There's another element we haven't touched on, and that's the cost of hardware. So we know that the PlayStation 5 has 2 flavors. It's got the full version and the digital version. The digital version is far cheaper than it should be. They're knocking 90 quid off that just for the sake of a disk drive. Inevitably, they're going to want to recoup that in software sales. And once you've got a digital console, you're going to have to pay whatever the price is on the store, aren't you? So if they add another $10 onto that, it won't be long before they make that $90 back or £90 back off the console price.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, what you're saying makes sense. It just still seems shitty.
I'm not sure about the price of the component between the digital and non-digital PS5. The type of disk drives that they're putting into these things are quite advanced, and one probably would retail for about 90 quid if you were buying a component for like a computer or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, so I think they're probably actually not knocking that much less off than they...
It might retail for 90. It won't cost them anywhere near
wholesale,
that.
yeah, would be very different. That's a good point.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I want to keep an eye on this one, I think. We'll see how this evolves over time. Yeah, so they're talking about PlayStation. The Sony fanboys were out in strength during the Xbox Series X launch window, and a video went viral. And I do suggest checking this out from the links in the show notes of an Xbox One X, Series X smoking. And I don't just mean a few wisps. I mean this thing looked like it was, doing what it turns out it actually was doing, which was vaping. So it turns out this was quickly debunked by the internet and then confirmed by Microsoft that this was not a Series X on fire. This was a Series X where somebody had blown their vaped smoky vapiness into the vents and then watched it waft out and videoed it and tried to make it go viral as a defective Series X.
Well, they succeeded in making it.
It definitely went viral. Yes, it did go viral. I mean, is this funny? Is this malicious? I don't know. Do you just want to do something silly like this to get a lot of hits? I think the problem comes from if you did this video and then you said what it was, then it'd be like, it's just a joke, ha ha ha. But no, they did try and pass it off as a faulty device, which is therefore getting into the territory of console wars are still a thing amongst the stupid people on this planet.
Shitty thing to do, but it did fail. I mean, everyone's seen it, but everyone knows it's fake.
Yes, and it looked fake straight away, didn't it? I mean, it doesn't look like an electrical fire. It looks like a vaping Xbox. So,
yeah.
Which is what it is.
Part of me kind of hopes that residue from inside the vapor coats some of the components inside and causes Xbox to break a day after guarantee.
Not part of me. All of me hopes that. Yes. Because the fact is, they went out of their way to buy one and then to. So this is what's the logic there? Are you such a fanboy that you've gone and bought a console to try and make people believe it's broken? I mean, yes. What is that? People have a lot more time than they have sense, and clearly a lot more money than they have sense as well.
Yeah.
So it's insane to me. Just a quick one though. Do check it out in the show notes. It's rather ridiculous. And then last night, boys, we had the weirdest news. So I was playing something on my Series X when Leah taps me on the shoulder and shows me her phone, and I see this headline of Ubisoft Montreal under siege, and there are like people on the roof trying to get away from something, and it turns out they're blockading themselves in meeting rooms, and there's reports of armed gunmen, and there's police everywhere. It's like, holy shit, what is going on? It was really quite worrying there for a minute. I was on Twitter and I was like trying to see what was going on, the live updates and stuff for what was happening, what the latest news was, and seeing if there was anything from developers from inside and stuff. And there was a lot of confusion, a lot of concern, a lot of heartfelt support going out to these guys in Ubisoft. It all looked really, really serious. And then it turns out it was swatting. It was a hoax. It was not real. Somebody had called in a threat, and the police had responded, and they weren't able to find any threat. So everything was fine, but for a while there you had potentially hundreds of very, very, very frightened, very, very scared Ubisoft employees. So my heart goes out to those guys, wishing them well, because that's going to have an effect on you in that situation. You're at work, which is you think of as a safe place. You think there's armed gunmen in the offices. You're being told by your superiors to barricade yourselves into meeting rooms or onto the roof. A threat of, imminent threat to your life is coming. That will have profound psychological effects on you, regardless of if it's true or not. So I hope they're all good. I'm sure Ubisoft will make sure there's counselling available to them and stuff. But yeah, what a shitty thing to do. I hope they catch the people that did it.
Yeah,
I really
100%. So I missed the furore around that. I mean, for reference, we're recording this on Saturday morning, so this happened Friday night for us, and obviously this will go up on Sunday, I believe. So the timing's a little skew-if, but it was a very weird thing to read through. Why it's been done, I don't know. It makes no sense to me. That entire concept makes no sense to me.
Well, I think the irony is that swatting became quite prevalent in Rainbow Six. This is where it kind of kicked off, which is a Ubisoft game. And swatting, for people that don't know, is people calling in threats, to the police that there is some kind of imminent threat, usually by somebody that's armed, at someone's house. So police then will show up, kick down the door to that person's house, and interfere with them, possibly even tragically, as has happened, cause a fatal shooting, resulting in that person dying, and then the people that perpetrated that's what have gone to prison, I believe, or at least it's looking that way. That they were, I know they were found guilty. Whether or not they were sentenced, I can't remember. But that all happened a couple of years ago, it was quite a hot thing for a minute there. Basically a way for scummy kids who back in my day in Halo, which would be the ones teabagging you when they killed you. This is a bit further now. This is instead of abuse online, this is getting people killed. Now, I think once that happened,
consequences.
Yeah, once those consequences became real, it's happened a lot less now, because even these scummy kids realize that you could kill someone, and if that happens, you're going to go to prison, or potentially for a very long time. But yeah, this is kind of it seems to be a sort of a level up from that almost, and it's disgusting and it's ridiculous and awful, and it just speaks to the nature of the policing in places like the United States, where these people that have done absolutely nothing wrong can get shot and killed by armed police because they're going in, tacked up, ready to deal with a gunman or multiple gunmen, and there's no one there. It's just some kid playing a video game, and then for whatever reason that kid's dead. So it's gross, and fingers crossed this isn't the beginning of another wave of this. And like I said, I really hope they catch the people that did it, and the consequences are severe because it's affected a lot of people's lives. So
now we know everyone's safe. Is it cool to say, when I heard the police were at Ubisoft, this isn't the first reason I thought of? So yeah, I'm surprised you're still giving them so much money, Ben. Didn't take long, did it?
Well, I mean, you can't blame the thousands of people working there for a couple of bad
apples.
We know of a couple of bad apples. I suspect there might have been a few more than a couple because it was sounding like it was fairly systemic. But they're making the right noises towards improving things there now. I'm obviously keeping an eye on that, but at the same time, thousands of people make these products, So it's like, am I never going to go and see another Marvel movie involving Joss Whedon because it turns out he's kind of a bully on set? Probably I am, aren't I? I mean, it's like there's a lot of people involved with making those movies.
It does kind of put you off a bit, though, doesn't it?
It does. It's a bit different for me when I find out like a favourite author, right? When a favourite author turns out to be a disgusting human being, well, they're singular, isn't it? It's like I can stop reading their book because they're the only people making that. Whereas with something like Assassin's Creed, it's countless people putting countless amounts of hours into something creative. So yeah, I feel it was a bit of an overreaction to boycott the whole product because of a few people. But you can call me a hypocrite for that. I'd understand if you did. So I think that takes us to the end of the news, guys. So look, the rest, however long this runs now, we've got one thing to talk about, boys, and one thing only.
Wow. It's two things, because there are two new consoles that we're talking about.
But it's all Xbox, is what I meant. It's all Xbox, baby. Anyway. What?
It's all Xbox, baby.
It's all Xbox, baby. Yeah. So we had a little bit of a hardware release, didn't we, this week? Series X and Series S came out. Little one.
Did anyone hear? I'd heard nothing about it in advance. No.
There may have been an unboxing video, Rob, that me and you chatted over. Indeed. And that's on the channel right now if you want to watch that. But Richard was not able to join us for that. So I was
working. I was working all day, waiting for my Xbox to arrive. Pretty lucky, I suppose. It didn't turn up until later in the afternoon. Otherwise, I would have been in trouble with my boss. But,
I got mine ridiculously early. I don't know how, but I got it like 10:30 in the morning. I got my Series X show up, and I was like,
I was quite jealous.
I was very surprised when that came as early as it did. I was like, this is amazing. And then my Series S came about 2:00 in the afternoon. But yeah, so my experience delivery was very good. You guys' experience, we were all quite anxious. We all had anxiety for
Mm.
various reasons. Amazon were having their issues. Rob, I know you were worried about
Yeah.
that. Me and Richard had some issues with Microsoft where they weren't very good at communicating what was actually going on. A lot of transactions were very late to go through or got cancelled for some reason by banks and stuff. I know Richard had that experience. I had a weird one where they took the payment and they gave it back, and then they finally took it for real at like 10 o'clock on the night of launch. It was so weird. I don't know what was going on there, but obviously volume had an effect on all of their processes.
Very stressful.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? I mean,
My
you spend that kind of
To be
money.
clear, my payment wasn't declined. I am flush, all right, guys. But
I'm sorry.
was,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean like that. You had issues.
it was a fraud. It was a fraud issue, so it got flagged up for fraud. Did you purchase this item? Well, yes, I did. But we're still going to block it anyway. So I had to change my method of payment, which was a bummer. But yeah, got it in the end.
That's what counts, man. That's what counts. So we all got ours on launch day, and I haven't done anything else really with my life since Tuesday until recording today, other than play games on my Series X and Series S. That's pretty much. I booked a holiday time off. I wanted to just think about video games for a few days. It's been really good actually. It's been what I needed, and I've played a fucking lot of games to put no finer point on it. Yeah, I mean, have you got anything you wanted to add about your initial impressions, Richard? And honestly, I've got a couple of negatives I definitely want to bring up during this discussion about the hardware. Should we do that first and get them out of the way? Yeah.
I am the cranky one, I guess. Let's start moaning. So yeah, download issues and update issues on my Series X. Don't know if this is common, but there's a few games that have Series X and Series S patches to improve graphical fidelity and all those bells and whistles. Didn't work. So I spent ages. Somehow my internet got throttled down to 30 meg from 300, whatever it's supposed to be. Spent hours downloading these patches, and then when I tried to boot up the games, they didn't work. So some sort of complication between games stored on external storage and then being updated to files that will only work on the internal storage, getting mixed up and crossed over and duplicated and all that. Just needed to reinstall the whole lot afresh. So that was frustrating.
This is my criticism as well, right? So the way the consoles are handling this, PlayStation and Xbox, is slightly different, right? So with PlayStation, you can have a PS4 version of a game and a PS5 version of a game sat literally next to each other on your console, right? So you've got two completely different executables that can run, whereas with the Xbox, in a desire, I believe, to make things a bit more consumer friendly and easy to understand, you can't do that. Once there's an update to make it an X/S enhanced game, then that's all you can do. You can't say no and then be able to play it. You literally can't play that game without the enhancement. And then the other wrinkle in this is that to then play that game, it has to be on the internal drive / Velocity architecture supported memory card from Seagate for £220. So I had some external
What makes
drive.
That worse?
Sorry?
What makes that worse is that at least one game advertises to the contrary of that. So if you look at Call of Duty, which came out yesterday, new Call of Duty Cold War, they're selling that in a slightly different way to some of the stuff we've already seen, the smart delivery stuff. You have to pay a premium to get the Xbox Series X/S version, which comes bundled with the regular Xbox version. But when you buy it, it says if you just buy the regular one, you can use that via backwards compatibility on Xbox Series X and S, and
Distinct
then you buy
SKUs.
an upgrade for it.
There you go. That's because it's going to have distinct SKUs, I would say. That's what that'll be.
But it's very confusing, isn't it? So if you've got one that has an update, rather than being a separate SKU, as you say, then that won't work. But Call of Duty will. But it makes the market very muddy.
Yes, and that's what we're dealing with this generation, isn't it? We're dealing with a new generation, but in a way it's a bit like the last one, which was the half-step generation. We're getting this situation where we're getting these enhancements, we're getting these updates. Some are going to be free, some will be smart delivery, some will be premium, some are going to be separate SKUs, some are not. Some aren't ever going to get enhanced, but they're still going to benefit from the horsepower of the system and the quicker load times if you put them on the internal drive and stuff like that. So there is some confusion, and I don't know if I mean, let's put it this way: there's two different types of consumer, isn't there? There's the entry level consumer, and then there's the power user, right? We're all power users, if you like, right? So we're the people, yeah, we're the people that are fiddling with this shit, that are messing with it, that are trying to break it, that are trying to work out the best ways of making it work and optimizing it and stuff. Rob's pulling a very strange face.
Not.
Yeah, you are. Shut up. You know, you're an
No,
IT
I'm
guy.
not.
Of course, you're a power user. Be quiet, you noob.
No, I just sit there and play fucking video game.
Oh, all right, okay. Me
I'm
and
not
Richard then.
tweaking it and trying to force it to work. I'm just using the system.
I'm sorry, Rob.
Mr.
I
T-face.
apologise. I apologise for putting that language into your mouth without checking with you first. I just assumed you were like that. But okay, we know you're a noob now. That's fine.
Did you see his Mr. T expression? Like,
I did.
I ain't fiddling with that shit.
But my point is that to me, right, so I've got an X and an S. So the issue of not having something installed on the internal drive on my X is like, that's fine. It's a terabyte. 800 usable. I've got about 20 games installed on that at the moment. You know, I've basically filled that up as well. And it's like that, but that's not so much of a problem. On my S, with my 300 gigabytes of usable space, the fact is that I can barely have any enhanced Xbox games installed on that at once. It's like I've got about half a dozen, right?
You probably don't want enhanced games on your Series S because it's not as graphically.
See, Rob, you see, you're missing it,
Yeah,
buddy.
but
They are
you don't
X
have
and
a
S
choice, though.
enhanced. You don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice.
If you want to run one of those enhanced games, it has to be on the internal drive, even on the S. And you literally can't run it without updating it. And then when you hit update, it has to go on the internal drive. So you can't play those games. Like, I've got an example. One of the ones was Maneater, right? Fun, B tier, open world shark murder simulator. Absolutely ridiculous game. But they've enhanced it, right? And I quite like playing that game. It's only about 12 gigs. But for me to run that now has to be enhanced on my internal drive. And it's like, but this game, I don't need enhancements on this game. Who cares about the enhancements on bloody Maneater? Yeah. Like, whatever. Let me just play it. But I can't. And it's sort of annoying that you can't do that. That you can't just say, no, I'm good. Now, I feel like that's something they will have to bring in. Like, they are going to have to enable you to be able to play these games from an external drive unenhanced. Like, even on your S and your X. That surely is going to be patched. Because it does seem kind of bullshit at the minute. Like, I'm really going to have to buy one of those expansion cards. Because I have so many games. And like I was talking about power user, not everyone has a game library as large as I do on Xbox, right? And is therefore going to have this kind of juggling issue, right? Probably in the very, very minor percentage of people that have that, right? So understandably, Xbox has not made this hardware and this architecture with that in mind. But it's still a frustration for me.
You're topping 1,000 games now, aren't you, on Xbox?
I'm approaching 1,100 now, yeah.
Flipping egg.
So it's like I said, most people will not have that, right? So it's got to be a lower level concern for them. But at the same time, from a user perspective, you're now bringing across 4 generations of games, right, onto this platform. That means those libraries are getting big for everyone, right? Even at the lower end, you've got to be at least, if you've been on there with the Games of Gold and you've got Game Pass, you're talking about hundreds of games, aren't you, for most people? So it's like, and then the X enhanced ones and the S enhanced ones, that number's only going to grow. So it's only going to become a bigger issue. So they've definitely got to do something about it. That or just bring those prices down.
Makes me worried that in 2 years' time we're going to see a Series XX that is going to be like 4 terabytes in size. Dude, storage.
It's inevitable, and it'll probably be a year. And they're going to bring out larger internal storage. That's
why I'm holding off on the card.
Inevitable. However, they have designed the internals of that console in a very user-friendly way. Maybe they're just going to say you can upgrade it yourself. Maybe you can just buy a drive. They're going to bring out Xbox happy drives that you can just pop in yourself. I don't know. I mean, from what I've seen in the teardown videos, it's a pretty simple architecture. It should be quite easy to do. The way the stack is actually physically designed. So I don't know. But
the way I'm getting around that, I think, is just to avoid the S, because that issue on the S now with such a small internal storage available, it's just not practical, is it, for people like you and I? I was thinking of going down your route and having an X and an S, but I think what I'll do is stick with my one Series X, and then when they increase the storage capacity of that, in a different SKU, maybe a year or so down the line, I'll get a second one, and that will be my main one then, and I'll use this other one as a second console.
So
But
until
then,
I don't regret buying my S. It's not like that, and it's not that serious. It's still a massive improvement over performance when it comes to the One X that I had. Like the interface is so much snappier on both of these consoles. But the interesting thing about the S is that it's basically parity with the X. Now you'd expect it to perform lesser. It doesn't. It's just as quick, it's just as snappy. You've got quick resume, you've got the load time improvements. You're seeing all of those benefits that you would on the X on the S. The only difference is it's designed to output only up to 1440, and I'm only running it at 1080, and therefore the actual horsepower is being allocated really smartly, and it's still got things like ray tracing, it's still got things like the backwards compatibility enhancements. So every feature you've got on the X is in the S. The only difference is it's not outputting in 4K. And that, I think what they've done with that design philosophy and how they've made that hardware is really impressive. The fact that it is £250, but it can basically do everything the other console can do perfectly well on a 1080p TV, which is what most people still have. Very, very smart. Very, very smart. But yes, the internal storage, you bought one of those memory cards, and I'm assuming it just plugs in, works, you never have to think about it, basically, yeah? Like what?
Yeah, it just plugs in.
Does it show up as a separate drive?
Separate.
That's good for organisational purposes.
Yeah, because I was thinking about if I bought one, my like perennial games that are X enhanced. My ones I'm always playing, like Destiny, which will be enhanced and stuff like that. Those games as service games, maybe big games like AC. I'd put them on the memory card, and then I would just move it between my consoles, and that way I would deal with the storage issue on both really effectively. But still, 220 quid. I'm looking at that and I'm just going, gee.
It's a lot of money. But I only got mine because I had some very kind friends in my last job that got me an Amazon voucher to pay for half of it. So it didn't cost me too much in the end. But I wouldn't have bought it otherwise. Now I've got it. I'm glad that I do. Out of that 1 terabyte, you don't get the full lot, but you get a reasonable amount of that. I think it comes out to 930 gigs of that is usable.
What's the rest of it being used for?
I don't know.
How does that work? What is it? Any ideas, Rob, Mr. IT guy?
What, on the card?
Yeah. Why would it not be usable?
Stuff being moved around, won't it? It'll be space reserved for when you're moving files around. It needs somewhere to put it while it's been moved.
It needs a buffer.
Right.
To put parts of files before it can put whole files in places and that sort of thing.
Well, good to know. But right, okay. So that's some of the griping. This is still, we're early adopters. We're going to be the ones doing the testing on this and giving the feedback and hopefully seeing the changes. Xbox, if anything,
early adopters.
Well, we are early adopters. That's the name for it. That's what you are when you pick a console up on launch day. You're an early adopter.
I thought it was just someone who bought a console on launch day.
No, we have it. We have basically there's that and stupid, which is the other name they'll call us often as well, for being the guinea pigs, basically. But in addition, I've got my S's in the Alpha Skip Ahead preview program. So I will be trying out the new OSs as soon as they've got them and they're half baked, and I take those risks of a bricked console every day. With always one of them. But what that means is hopefully I will see these enhancements and improvements and stuff that are going to come down the pipe. And be able to tell you guys about it when I hear about it and when I see them in the console, because I do think they have to happen. I really do. But let's talk about some games, guys. Let's talk about the main reason we buy these consoles, which is to play games enhanced and what, Richard?
We forget about that, don't we?
Sometimes.
This is a weird generation.
Yeah, you do sometimes think, oh, you're just buying it just to have new tech. But no, we do get it to have an improved gaming experience, and boy, oh boy, for the most part, have I seen that. I've played about 20 games, I think, that have been X and S enhanced over this, and we'll touch on what we'll do is we've got a long list here, and we'll talk about the ones me and at least one of the others here, Rob or Richard, has played as well first. Rob, I want to talk to you first of all about the one we spent all day Wednesday playing, and we have still not got Richard into our fire team, and he needs to sort his freaking life out and join us already. But basically, we've been playing a bunch of Destiny 2 Beyond Light.
Oh yes, it's wonderful. So obviously we've got the new expansion content, new season content as well, starting next week. It's wonderful. like, obviously we haven't got the enhanced version of the game yet. I believe that's out early December. I'm more hyped for that now, because if it's this good and this improved already, what's that going to do? It's going to be wonderful. So yeah, the load times I think were always a bit of a problem in Destiny on console. They were lengthy. You could read several chapters of a weighty book in some load times. You barely have time to reach for your phone now.
It's mad. I've never.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really pronounced difference for people that play it a lot, like me and you. We just couldn't get over it, could we? We played together all day, and it's like,
legitimately shocking.
We were saying how you'd be doing something like in a PvE area, like in this case they brought back the Cosmodrome. Oh, we got to go pop back and get something from the tower. Oh, do we have to? And then you realise, oh, hold on, load times are kind of like not a thing anymore. So let's just do it. So let's just pop back and come back, and we'll carry on doing what we're doing. It doesn't matter anymore that it's not 2 minutes plus out of your time just getting there, loading in, doing what you got to do. Now it's almost instant. It feels completely different.
I think for the first couple,
worth remembering though, you haven't got the X/S patch yet.
No, Rob just said that. Yeah,
exactly. So if it's this good now, what's it going to be like when that drops?
Well, it might be worse, because it's going to have more assets and higher res textures to load in.
Well,
isn't it?
I mean, it's already 4K.
Slower.
It's already 4K textured Destiny 2 on the Xbox in Series X. So we're already dealing with 4K. The main enhanced differences from what I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, is they're going to lock at 60. What else was it? Lighting improvements, or is that not a thing?
Are the textures 4K?
I mean, it was a big improvement when you went to Series went to 1X. I know that.
They may not be 4K though. I mean, that's one of the improvements that they brought to Gears 5. That's got the full 4K textures from the PC version on Series X now, and it didn't have before, even on Xbox One X. Even though it's a 4K image, but the textures were not.
I don't know.
I'm trying to find out.
Well, all I could say to your point, Richard, is a fair point, but I think they will be aware of that.
I'm not trying to rag on it. I mean, that's great that it's quicker. It's just, it might slow down a little bit. Hopefully it won't when the
That's the thing. I would have thought that's unlikely. They're going to want to optimize that as much as possible, because the last thing they're going to want is people to have a positive experience for a month and then take it away.
So it's still going to be miles ahead of what it was on a regular hard drive, right? So, either way, it's going to be an improvement.
No, absolutely. And it is in a way, it's weird. It must be strange for PC gamers to hear about this, who have had SSDs and fast load times for fucking forever now, and for hear us console gamers like talking about how much better it all feels. It's not new technology, but how it's being deployed here really does change the experience. That when you're playing these games, that you can just jump in and out of the areas so quickly. It's really, really cool.
I know it's been available on PC a long time, but is it commonplace for
SSDs?
PCs?
Yeah. Oh yeah, mate.
Yeah. It's common practice on PCs that you will install an operating system onto something like a normal SATA drive, just a normal 3.5mm drive, and games go on solid state drives because they are just better and faster and can render data much quicker. Even better if you've got games on an M.2 drive, which is a super solid state kind of drive. It's so much faster.
And in the consoles, we're dealing with NVMe, aren't we, basically, in these consoles, yeah?
I believe so. I'm going to tentatively say yes, purely because I'm looking at other information at the moment, trying to just clarify a couple of bits.
I think it is. Not that I know what that means. But yeah, I just wondered if there's a contingent of PC gamers that are still using regular hard drive, whether that's a thing or not.
But I, for example, have it the other way around. My laptop boots off a solid state, and then I install my games to regular hard drive just because I'm not that interested in the fast load times on PC, I guess. But now I might be, because I've now learnt the awesomeness of it on console. So you mentioned Gears while Rob does that, Richard.
I've got my information. So, see, they've confirmed already that this generation, this edition of Destiny 2 has faster load times and cross-generation play, so you can play with friends who haven't been able to get consoles on day one. They're confirming that on December the 8th, which is when this comes out, the resolution on Series X and PlayStation 5 will be 4K. minimum 60 FPS, but I think they're running at higher FPS now. I'm convinced they are, because
it feels incredible.
It feels smoother. I've been playing on my PC for months now, almost a year really, maining my PC for Destiny 2, because I was struggling with the frame rate because I tried it on PC, and it's smoother. It runs better. And I think that's just the power of the Series X, just going, well, this can run at like 40 frames, so I'm going to. We will have 120 hertz Crucible support, a field of view slider, and the Xbox Smart Delivery as well. That's going to be the main points coming from the optimized version.
It doesn't sound like a huge amount of changes, to be honest.
No.
I don't think it's going to be a massive difference to what we've got right now. I think the main thing will be that 60 lock, which will just mean, much smoother.
Smooth.
Sorry?
Silky smooth.
Yeah,
it's going to be beautiful.
I think Destiny, when it comes to its textures and stuff in Destiny 2, you're not going to see a massive difference with high resolution textures, but purely because it's all about art design much more than it is about textures in that game. I don't think there's going to be a massive bump in say file size and stuff. If anything, they're bringing Destiny 2's file size down
as much as they can.
So yeah, it's not going up, but we'll see, Rich. We'll see. It's a valid point, sir. Do you want to talk about Gears 5 then? Because you obviously played a lot more of Gears 5. You completed it, didn't you? Yeah, on the Xbox One.
First time around, yeah.
I barely touched it, and I played it now on Series X as well. But yeah, what's your kind of impression of the enhancements there?
It always looked phenomenal anyway, so it's difficult to say how much of an improvement it is, but it's certainly the most impressive thing I've seen on Series X so far. So just how smooth, I think it's that melding of ultra smooth frame rate with really highly detailed visuals and incredible lighting as well in this game. It's just all round the best looking game on Xbox at the moment, I think. You could compare it to Forza, I guess. That's the other one. But since we're talking about Gears, yeah, I think I have finished it already. Just by virtue of how great it looks and how smooth it is now on Series X, I want to go through it again. Hopefully with someone else. So if you want a co-op partner, hit me up. But yeah, really impressed with the work that they've done on this. It's a couple of years old now, isn't it? Or at least a year old. But it looks tip-top.
I was most impressed with the one thing that would not have been possible without Series X, which was, without the power of the Series X, you couldn't have Dave Bautista as Marcus Phoenix. I mean, that's just now we have the true Marcus Phoenix experience, bringing the gravitas of Drax and that character he was in Blade Runner. Couldn't tell you his name. And then that dude in that film in London when things go bad. Yeah, Dave Bautista, amazing actor that he is now Marcus Phoenix, which only is possible in the series. It's not. It's available in every version. But have you played as Dave Phoenix yet?
Dave Phoenix? No, I haven't yet.
Sounds like the older brother that's really an accountant. Dave Phoenix.
You've got bloody JD Phoenix, which is a terrible name. And then why not have Dave Phoenix? They should have just renamed it. So instead of going calling him Marcus all the time, you could have annoying Kate go Dave, like instead, which would have been great. Which is also weird in that first opening level, because they've got the robot which is called Dave, and it's quite the whole time I thought they were talking to Dave Phoenix, as it were, and it was like really stupid. So why are they telling Dave to open a door? I'm really confused. But no, it's quite fun. And the fact is that he's recorded all the voice work for it as well. It's not just his face. He's done all the voice work. That's a really big deal. Now, purely because the fan outcry, because they put him in as a multiplayer skin for Marcus Phoenix a couple of seasons back, and I think there was like a big we want him as in the single player, and they made it happen. And I think it's all because Batista is a huge Gears fan as well, and so it was kind of like that Terry Crews and Crackdown thing. It was this opportunity to get someone of note into your franchise. Why not? And you know what? He's good Marcus Phoenix. Got no problems with him as Marcus Phoenix. It's pretty good. But yeah, I think that game is beautiful. Yes, it is stunning. I'll see how far I get with it, but no, I was enjoying it. I don't think it's the most impressive thing on the Series X, But I do think it's like you said, the environments are so detailed that what they're able to do with it is quite stunning. So I want to talk a little bit about lighting because.
Just before we move on to lighting, just to clarify a point before about Destiny 2. Destiny 2 has been outputting in 4K for 3 years.
Yes, no, it has. But the question is, what are the textures? And I think that is a very valid point from Richard. Yeah,
it is a fair point, but this isn't new. No. Like it's been 4K for a while.
Yeah, it's looked great for ages. That game has always looked stunning. Anyway, yeah. So talk about the lighting, ray tracing. Now, this is something that's really stood out to me playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Lighting. Games, it sort of weirded me out for a while playing Valhalla. Right, first of all, coming from Odyssey, which has this very bright, very saturated look to it. Valhalla has. It's also a bit weird because Valhalla goes back to Origins. It's the same team that worked on Origins, right? Which is a different team that worked on Odyssey. So it goes back and brings back some of the bits that were in Origins that weren't in Odyssey. So it's this weird. While it's the finishing point of a trilogy, it also. It's more like a sequel to Origins and kind of ignores Odyssey for a large swathes of it. It kind of doesn't really matter to it at all. But then there are bits that it's strange. For example, you know in Origins when you assassinate somebody, you go to that weird like dark realm, and like there'd be weird effects and people there, and you'd have a chat with them, the person you'd murdered and stuff. Where that just did not happen in Odyssey at all. Right? That's back in Valhalla, right? And now Odin's there as well. So it's like, this is cool. There's some really cool stuff in this. But, I mean, I'd like to spend more time just talking about Valhalla, because that's the other game other than Destiny I probably put the most time into this week. But we won't just talk about Valhalla for ages, other than to say it's really freaking good. But the thing I wanted to mention is lighting, right? The way the game looks is so realistic that it kind of pulled me out from it, because it's like, this doesn't look like a video game should look. Because... the colours can be muted. The other thing I've noticed is when the ray tracing is, when the weather turns, right? When it starts pissing it down or there's fog, you really struggle to actually see what's going on. Because you would struggle to see what's going on in a rainstorm at night, you know, with the fog coming in off the fens, which is literally where I am, is the fens right now, Rob. I'm in East Anglia in that game, which is very strange considering that's where we live. And it's like, oh, it's the Falconeer. I was literally sailing down the River Ouse, like just yesterday. Bizarre. But no, so it obscures everything, and because it's this realistic modeling of the lighting and of colors and of how clothing looks and how people look, and it's almost like I'm playing other games on 1080p without these kind of enhancements. Games still feel and look a lot like games. This is starting to look a lot and feel a lot more realistic because of the way it's presented, which was actually kind of took me a while to get used to. I thought maybe I'd adjusted my TV wrong or something and the colors were off. No, and I sort of looked at it for a while and went, no, they're just right. Your colors don't pop like that. You know, that's not how it looks in the real world, right? People's skin doesn't look that way. It looks like this. It looks muted. It looks mottled. It doesn't look shiny and stuff. It looks like it should look like that. So it takes a little bit of adjusting, I found, actually playing that game, because it does feel much more real than Odyssey. Odyssey felt very much like this Ray Harryhausen film come to life, whereas this feels, it's a distinct artistic difference in its approach, and it feels way more grounded. Yeah.
That doesn't really come across in the video. So do you think in the flesh, so to speak, when you've got it on your own console at home, that looks better than the videos that we see online then? I suppose that's natural,
I think
right?
The videos, the way they're cut, the way they're soundtrack, the way they look, they feel a lot more video gamey than the actual playing of it does. Obviously, it's still a video game. Obviously, I'm still bloody, brought back Leap of Faith, for example. They've really gone back in many ways to making this feel more Assassin's Creed than Odyssey did. They got the hidden blade back. You can stealth go around. You can put your hood up. You can do social stealth. They brought back a lot of those elements that were in Origins and then were very conspicuous with their absence from Odyssey. I loved Odyssey. I'm not sure I like Valhalla as much as Odyssey at the moment. I've put about 10 hours in. It's a different proposition. To put it this way, I didn't finish Origins. It's one of the few Assassin's Creed games I didn't finish. Now, I'm going to go a bit further with Valhalla because I'm more interested in the Viking milieu than I am the ancient Egypt stuff. However, this has got a lot more in common with Origins than Odyssey. Now, therefore, your mileage may vary depending on if you're looking to get back to that more traditional Assassin's Creed aspects, or if you really love that kind of action-adventure, open-world RPG that was Odyssey. So I'm still too early. I've only been in England proper for about half of that time. I've now started to see all the mechanics of the game with the raiding and how the assassin targets are laying out, and like the actual structure of the proper game is starting to reveal itself. In a typical Assassin's Creed fashion, it's quite a slow onboarding process. You start off on an entirely different part of the map and the world. You're in Norway, which takes some time. You get through that, and then you come to England. And now I'm starting to really get myself seated into that, and I'm enjoying it greatly. But it does feel very different to Odyssey, yes. So
as Norway, it'll be the same.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. I am really looking forward to picking up AC Valhalla. It looks amazing. I think with trailers and things, you're never going to see how good a game will look on something like the Series X, because what you're watching the trailer on probably can't output the input that it's got. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Well, it won't. You're not going to be able to see HDR in a YouTube video.
Exactly.
You're not going to be able to see ray tracing in a YouTube video. And I think both of those play a big part in the way this game looks and is lit and feels. And it all. What are you smiling about, Rob? Grinning away. What have I done?
It's the pun.
Stop punning. I hate you so much. I'll tell you what.
I didn't want to play Valhalla, but now I kind of do. Now you said that. So if it's something that truly shows off the system, maybe I should buy it.
If this was something that Ben had on a disc, he could perhaps lend it to you. However, Ben does not do discs.
Don't do discs. What's the point of discs in this new generation, man?
So you can lend the game to friends.
Yeah, but you have you can't do quick resume on something if the disc isn't in the machine. So it's kind of like, and as AC Valhalla actually is one of the best for quick resume. It actually, like, not all the games support it properly yet, and this one is amazing. So I save because I can't help myself. So I'll hit pause, I'll save, or you can just do quick save. There's like on the menu wheel, you quick save, and then I'll just come out of it. I go to something else, I'll play something else, come back, comes up, quick resume, straight back to where I was within seconds, and it just works.
Now that is how the technology is supposed to work. What you're supposed to do is carefully cultivate a complete lack of friends, like Ben and I have done, to make sure you can use that technology to its best.
That was my mistake.
Don't need to buy this.
Still include people in my life. How errand I am.
Right. I've often been critical of this game.
I think I know which one you're going to go for.
Oh boy, does the Series X makes this game better. And that is Borderlands 3.
Knew it.
Holy crap. This game looks better, plays better, loads faster. It's smooth. It just... I don't think I realised playing it the first time how much the performance was affecting my enjoyment of that game. And now going back, it's like, oh no, that's why I didn't like it. Because it just felt chunky and like the frame rate was terrible and it was garbage. And now playing it, I got to be at 60. It's got to be. And it just feels incredible to play.
It is so smooth. It's so well done. I love the Borderlands franchise. I love Borderlands 3. But it was tanking my One X. And now the Series X just goes, nope, going to be better. And I can't wait to start new playthroughs. I can't wait to do more with that console and that game.
Have they improved it then, or is it just running better?
Yeah, it's enhanced.
Yes, it is enhanced.
Yeah. I don't know what they did. I did because I wasn't that bothered. I didn't look at that many details about it. I'm guessing it's a resolution bump. I'm guessing it's a locked frame rate. Maybe there's some lighting stuff in there because it does seem to look better to me. Like I didn't pay that much attention to what it looked like before, I guess, but it just feels so much better. Already I've started thinking about, well, what's the most economical way to buy the 2 season passes that are now out for this? I don't want to have to buy one of the game again. Oh god, how am I going to do this? I know that they've been on sale like constantly since release, so I'm going to wait for the next sale and pick up the season, at least the first season pass, and then see about getting the second one as well. It totally won me over again. Like,
is it a free upgrade? Because I see they've released it on the store again in a new version. So do you get the
X enhancement
upgrade
is free
anyway? Do you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
That was kind of, the word is transformative, and I think that's one that's gonna get used a lot with these enhancements and how the systems now handle these older games. And yeah, it really turned me around. It really, really turned me around. And I've got like 50 golden keys, so I was like, I don't know when I got them, but that's gonna be fun. I don't need to worry about guns, so that's pretty sweet. Right, one we've all played, I believe, is, I think, the big show off for this, which is Forza Horizon 4. What do you guys think about Forza Horizon 4? It just felt, as soon as I loaded it up, and it loaded fast, you know, a lot quicker than that's used to take forever to load that game. And the big thing for me was the menus. Getting around those poorly designed menus in that game now feels a lot quicker, a lot smoother, a lot easier to navigate. And then the driving just feels perfect, and it looks incredible. Like when my headlights were shining through the fences and lighting, you know, ray traced lighting on the headlamps onto the fields behind it, just adds so much to the driving experience. It's insane how real it feels now.
Great. I don't know if I'm doing it a disservice because I've spent all of my time on the Lego expansion.
That's where I was, yeah. When I loaded it, I was like, oh, the fucking bricks. I don't care about this.
Yeah, so I maybe need to change the mode. But yeah, it's nice, really smooth, looks great. I'm going to spend a lot more time on Forza Horizon 4. I've already put a lot of time into it anyway, but I'm certainly going to keep going back to that. Although, Dirt 5, now we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Ben, before we got the Series X and we played it on One X, had some issues then. But flipping heck, looks nice on Series X, really smooth. They fixed everything. I love it.
Well, I'm still having issues. I've still got my rumble not firing properly and audio issues occasionally popping in and stuff. And I think that game is buggy. We gave it the benefit of the doubt in the review because we reviewed it pre-release. Yeah, and there's been quite a few patches. I've seen them coming down quite a lot, and that doesn't seem to have completely rock solid dealt with the game. I also had problems finding any multiplayer games. I was really desperate to get in multiplayer, and I just sat there on that screen looking for a match, looking for a game, not finding anything. Yeah, so I don't think a lot of people are playing it for some reason.
It's really good though. I mean,
it's really freaking easy, is what it is. Like,
it is easy.
It's so easy.
Yeah, that just makes it. It's fun though. It's so fun, and some of those tracks, you can tell that they were designed with, you know, better hardware in mind. All the reflective stuff, those pools of mud that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, just looks phenomenal. More ambitious than some of the environmental stuff in Forza, even.
Yeah, but it's very different, isn't it? Because it's not an open world. So
yeah, cool.
Be more ambitious.
Yeah.
But Rob, we didn't get your input. Had you played much Forza prior?
I played a fair amount of Forza Horizon 4 before, like a year ago when it came out. It's fine. It looks pretty. It runs smoother, but I would expect that. Yeah, it's fine. It's a good upgrade. If you haven't played much, play more of it. But it wasn't defining or transformative for me at all.
You're not into driving games, though, are you? Like me and Richard.
The only driving games I really enjoy are the Forza Horizon games, and weird combat racing type games like Jack X Combat Racing, going back many years at this point. So it's. Yeah, I think that might be one that Ben has not heard of.
No, I think I have, but I don't think I ever played it. It rings a vague bell.
Anyway. But if you enjoy Forza Horizon 4, you should play it. It's worth getting the upgrade for, and it's definitely worth going back to it if you enjoy it.
Next one I wanted to mention, because it's new, and I don't think either of you guys have picked it up. The Falconeer.
No, I was tempted, but again, Ubisoft, so I didn't.
No, it's not. It's an indie title.
Ubisoft published it, right?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I thought they did.
It's a one-man band. I don't think it's anything to do with Ubisoft.
We'll confirm while you discuss.
While you double check, I'll tell you about the Falconeer. Weird game, because I can't compare it to what it looked like, you know, previous, because it came out on the day and I got the enhancements. It loads real fast. It's quite weird in the way the interface works, the way the levels work. There's lots of voice acting, which is quite surprising to me for such a small title. But at its core, the gameplay is basically Rogue Squadron. So it's this flying around game, but close to the ground, as it were, like maybe an Ace Combat or something like that, if you wanted to think of it in that regard. But you're on the back of a giant bird, and you've got this quite involved story about it gave me some Dishonored vibes, like that kind of feudal system of different interconnected empires and monarchies and stuff, and lots of politics and intrigue, and you're just kind of a pawn in this, but you're obviously going to be a key player, and you're flying around, you're doing some bombing, you're doing some shooting. There's some kind of nice bird mechanics where you can kind of stop in the air to like pull back the wings, and you can kind of hold there for a minute before you fall out the sky to get like a good angle on firing at something, maybe a stationary target. You can pick up the bombs from the sea. It's got a really interesting world, which is this giant ocean with archipelagos and islands, and but obviously not our world, because there's this weird place where the seas kind of part and they fall into this chasm, and you can fly down it like a trench run in Star Wars. It's really cool. Yeah, it's just a really unique world. I don't really want to put a lot more time into it. I haven't played a huge amount of it yet. I like how it feels, like how it controls. It's got a really unique look to it, where it's not like lots of textures. It's more like what do they call those blocks?
Cell shaded. Cell
shaded, but also it's not cell shading, because cell shading requires lines to be filled in. So there's no lines. So it's more like, how do you describe that? What are they called? There's a name for them. I can't remember what they're called, but there's a particular type of designing element that you can use to make games and stuff. It's kind of like the Minecraft style. So it's this kind of look to it that's different but unique, but it looks gorgeous and it runs really, really well. And yeah, I love a bit of combat. Combat air games are really good fun. I really enjoy those sort of games. So that's
I think I was talking complete balls. Nothing to do with
you were
Ubisoft,
indeed,
yeah.
Don't know why you thought it was Ubisoft. Yeah.
I don't know.
One-man band, like I said, one-man band, which is a cool game. I recommend it. Recommend checking that out. Yeah. Have you guys both played some Tetris yet? Tetris is the best Tetris ever.
So, mate, what else? You spend 450 quid on a console. What else are you going to do? Put some Tetris on, innit?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Tetris
playing a fair amount of that.
I played it quite late on before we recorded our unboxing video, so it was dark, and I did not turn the light on, and that was such a good experience. Just having that focus on the TV, it was beautiful. And I'd not played Tetris Effect before, so this was my first introduction to it. Amazing.
Turn up the volume, put some headphones on or something, and just zone out into that game. And the multiplayer is freaking excellent as well. Like really, really good. Like if you just want, there's some like classic competitive Tetris, but there's also this weird like co-op versus the AI thing, where they at one point all the boards come together and you've got one giant board and you're all working together to try and create lines across like 4 boards. It's insane. And it's so weird, and you can do it with AI and you can do it with real people, and you can mix it all up, and it's did that with the wife, and it was like, what is going on? I had no idea what was going on the first time, and it was like, we're all on the same board, what's happening? But it's loads of cool modes, and it looks and sounds incredible, and everybody knows how to play Tetris, so it's this great game, isn't it, where you've somebody come over or whatever, everyone's played Tetris. Everyone has played Tetris at least a few times. So it's this brilliant shared language, isn't it, in that regard? There's not many games like that where nobody in the room needs to have it explained. You can just pick it up and do it. You might be slow at it, some people might be a lot quicker, but everybody gets the concept, which is just I
think it's one of the most masterful video games ever created, because it's incredibly simple but insanely complicated at exactly the same time. Because once you start getting up to those speeds, the reactions and the judgments and all of that it's just another level. But it starts out so simple and so relaxing and so zen, and then you get through more, and it's the perfect video game, I think, or one of the
Have you experienced the main difference about this particular version of Tetris with the zone effect? Have you tried that much yet?
No.
So when you get up, you fill up your bar, and you hit the trigger, and it freezes the board, and you can just sort of like, it's hard to describe, and then you can have it clear like multiple Tetrises all at once, kind of adds them all up, and then it all kicks off again. It's really cool.
So it doesn't actually clear them, does it? It
No.
leaves them there in stasis.
Yeah.
And you've got like a timer while this, while you're in that state. And the idea is to get as many lines within that time limit as possible. And then when it expires, you award of score or whatever.
Big multiplier.
For clearing 10 or more or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, really
Interesting.
Really worth
Yeah, that's nice.
digging into how all that stuff, Rob. Yeah, we should play that in multiplayer as well, guys. That would be a good hangout, chill out, and
I'm noticing a theme.
Wit to Tetris. There's a lot of good games here in this list, which are brilliant for multiplayer. Like, and lots of them are available in Game Pass. Tetris and Game Pass, Gears and Game Pass, Forza is, No Man's Sky is. Absolutely loads of these are part of the Game Pass subscription. So. Destiny, of course, Destiny Beyond Light straight away in Game Pass.
Yeah.
How cool is that? How cool is that?
It's really good. I was thinking, shall I buy it the other day? Because I thought there was a discount on it, wasn't there? You can buy it cheaper with Game Pass. I thought I might get that. Then I realised it's free.
I did buy it.
Free already.
I did buy it on the Xbox, but that's because I get all the season content as well. We don't know how long it's going to be on Game Pass, and I don't want to lose access. So, and I also wanted pre-order bonuses and things like that.
So. For me, it's about buying all those the season content all at once, because why do it any other way?
Exactly.
I know I'm going to play it, so it's kind of like
exactly.
It's a no-brainer. I've been playing some. I can't review this yet, so I have to be careful. But I think I'm allowed to say I've been playing Bridge Constructor: The Walking Dead. Bridge Constructor: The Walking Dead. Now, do you remember at the sort of announcement of the Series X, this video was in that presentation, announcing this game, and everybody was like, what, and I get that, but what I can't review it, but what I will say is they introduced some new mechanics to Bridge Constructor, which work surprisingly well. So look out for more on that this coming week. When the embargo lifts, we will have a video. Yeah, Rob's face. He's so confused. Rob,
I'm wondering how far you can push the concept of an embargo at this point, because I thought you could not talk about the game, yet you are.
I could talk about the existence of the game, but I can't review it. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm allowed. I think I'm good.
I don't want us to have a random mute section in the middle of our podcast.
No, they have no power. They just complain at me, so I wouldn't worry too much. The other cool little game, also on Game Pass, by the way, and it looks and runs incredibly well, which is Planet Coaster. So Richard, do you have any kind of fondness for those management games from back in the day, like Roller Coaster Tycoon or Theme Park or any of those?
No. Well, sort of. I kind of like the idea of it, and then I think, how long is that going to take? I don't know. What's it like? Well, that's the problem, isn't it? It could go on forever, couldn't it? I'm not knocking the game. That's great for people who want to invest the time, but I don't think I could.
What's it like?
If you like those sorts of management sims, then I'm assuming that's amazing, right?
Yeah, I love it. That's the point. I like that open-endedness. Yeah, and it's like, well, I'll walk away after 20 hours or whatever. I'll stop playing and come back to it in a year's time or something and do it again. But yeah, so the Planet Coaster is by Frontier, the guys who made Jurassic Park Evolutions, or Jurassic World Evolutions, I can't remember which one it was for them, which was the park simulator game for Jurassic Park, which is also a lot of fun. Also the guys that make Elite and other stuff like that. And I like giving these guys a shout out because they're really local to me. They're just down the road is where they're based. And I know people that have worked there over the years and stuff. But yeah, so this is kind of their follow-up. I believe Frontier originally made Roller Coaster Tycoon or something like that, and then it ended up with a big publisher now, and it's not controlled by them. So this is their kind of spiritual successor to those series of games, and it's stunning. I was so impressed with the density of people in my park and the quality of how they looked and how you can zoom right in and you can see everything they're doing, and it's this is the fidelity of I built my first roller coaster yesterday, and you ride it. You can actually then ride the ones you build, and I actually got a real sense of vertigo and because it's first person when you're on it, and sort of disorientated, because it was I got quite a rush from sitting on this roller coaster. Now that's not the first time that's been done. I believe they did that on Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, for example, but obviously fidelity and stuff back then was terrible, but now it looks so photoreal that it, and 4K, and I was sat quite close to the screen and stuff, and it was holy shit, I'm actually feel like I'm riding this, and even though I couldn't feel the G's, and when it went through the corkscrew, I was like, oh, getting a bit dizzy here. It's like, Jesus Christ, actually had a proper physical effect on me. And yeah, it looks stunning. It's really, really well translated to the console. If you're into those type of management games, give it a go. I always recommend them. I love playing console versions of games like this because I always find it fascinating to see how well they've been ported over, how well they're supported, how well they work with a controller setup and stuff. And this one works brilliantly. It's very deep. You can manage every aspect of the business and of it as you want, or you can do it quite surface level, and that's really up to you. But I had a ball. I had a ball with this. What I did was a tutorial area. Haven't even got into the game properly yet. I think I spent 2 hours doing the tutorial. It's very in depth. But yeah, like Richard said, if you don't want to commit 20 hours or whatever to a game like this, it's maybe not for you. But I absolutely adore management games, and it's cool that it's on the Xbox and in Game Pass. It's badass that it's in Game Pass. So, did you guys want to touch upon anything else game wise?
I think we've covered the big hits really. For all of us now. Well, for myself, certainly.
Richard?
I can't think of anything else that I've played. I mean, what I've had fun doing on the Series X is just loading up games for 20 seconds and seeing how they perform. So that's been fun. Just having a crack at Control, which does look a lot smoother, even without the flipping upgrade they promised us, which has been delayed. And I'm not going to get anyway because I was loyal to them from early on, so screw me. Hey, that looks good anyway. Monster Hunter I've had a quick go on, and that's way smoother. There's clear reason to try that again on Series X because frame rate was a problem on Monster Hunter.
I thought that one. Okay, give that a go.
Yeah, so that would be fun to try again, I think. But yeah, just across the board, it's really great to have a console that, on the one hand, it's a shame that I haven't found a reason to buy the big game to show off my new Xbox. But wonderful that you can just revisit everything that you own already and see marked differences in performance, and give you an excuse to go back to stuff that's in the backlog with renewed vigor. So that's great.
Yeah, I was going to ask for any final points and anything you want to make. I wanted to quickly chuck out that I mean, we talked about it ahead of time, but I was quite looking forward to it. I tried out the Apple TV Plus app, which isn't technically a game, but I had a really good time with that. It worked really well. And I watched the lockdown episode of Mythic Quest, which I hadn't seen. And guys, honestly, please watch Mythic Quest. You'd both really enjoy it and I think get a lot out of it. And then the lockdown episode they did was absolutely heartbreakingly emotional and on point, because at the end of the day this is a workplace comedy, so and then it's quite a fractious workplace, but how they deal with lockdown and how some people deal with it a lot better than others, and then how they support each other, I think is a really important thing to be put out there and a message to be conveyed to people at the moment. And I think they deal with it very maturely. There's still humor in there, but it's also very serious, and it's very, very well handled. And obviously this was the first lockdown. Obviously in the UK right now we're going through a second lockdown, and so this stuff is still very, very applicable. So if you get a chance, watch Mythic Quest. Definitely check out this episode of it as well. It's easily the best lockdown episode I've seen of any TV show, and there's been quite a few now, and this one stood out to me as the most real and effective portrayal of people going through it. And yeah, I think it's great. Apple TV Plus got some really good shit on it. Like, I'm really glad to finally be able to watch some of the stuff on there. So that's a recommendation for me as well. But yeah, in general, I'm really happy with it. I think it's performing. It's sort of annoying, isn't it? It's like, this is the Xbox One we always deserved. The interface is super snappy now. It's clearly we're at that point where this is what they've wanted it to be since the beginning. The way that interface works and the way navigation works and how it populates now. The games load at going backwards is going to be very hard, and I'm going to definitely try not to, because it'll be jarring. I think if you're putting up with some of the load times we had before now, it's going to be one of those things that very quickly this is going to be the norm. And it's weird that, like Richard said, there isn't that big release, but in the same vein, we do have a distinct step up in performance with this generation, and it is going to become very quickly adopted as you going back. It's like, you're second class citizen. You can't go back. You can't. So Yeah, I'm flipping loving it. I've immersed myself in it for the last week since Tuesday.
You have.
Completely.
You've lived and breathed Series X.
I have, and Series S as well. Yeah, man. Like I said, it's super impressive that the S has got so little cut back from what the X can do. It's just that internal storage and the 4K, and that's kind of it. Which is really impressive if you think about it. They've been able to do that for 250 quid. Yeah, Rob, any final thoughts from yourself?
Nothing that hasn't already been said, really. Yeah, I have nothing positive. Well, I have nothing negative to say. Everything's been a very positive experience, and I just want to play more Destiny 2.
Well, you're stuck with me. We've got some recording to do after this, mate. Sorry, buddy.
I know.
So I think that brings us to the end to our big blowout Series X episode. We ran a little bit longer than normal, but I think it was been worthwhile to really dive into this. We're obviously going to be talking about games as they come out on this hardware, and it's not going to stop being a part of the discussion, that's for sure. But I do hope those of you that have picked up your consoles are enjoying them as much as we are, and those that are on the fence, or maybe you're going to give it a bit of time, absolutely understandable. Let us guinea pig this crap for you, but like I can assure you that this generation of hardware, and I'm sure the PS5 will be no different, is a distinct step up. Like, it is a distinct step up. So we're having a great time. So that's been another episode of Experience Kills. I have been Ben. You can find me at DIYE. Today we've had Richard with us, and you can find him at Colonel Red. And we've had Rob, and he's at Homeless Mr. Gibbs. And in a couple of weeks' time, we'll be back to do our first ever Game Pass, what did we say? It was like book club, Game Pass club, looking at Darksiders Genesis, which was Rob's pick. From last time. We've had a suggestion already about what to do after that, but please keep them coming in so we can maybe play some stuff that you guys would like us to play and talk about in depth, which is something I'm really looking forward to doing. But yeah, until then, please follow us at Experience Kills on Twitter and give us a like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. We're very, very close now to our big milestone of subscribers, which is something we're excited about, and we're going to do some giveaways and stuff around that, definitely. But until we get there, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Don't forget you can find us on podcasts as well, and we'll be back soon. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.